Hey folks, how's it going? As we all know, real log cabins are actually made out of cardboard, so I made sure to do the same. So to start the frame, I cut out some cabin-shaped pieces and then hot glued them together. And then, with my beautiful rustic cabin basically done, all I had left to do was to hide it under some plastic. So first I glued on some straws to frame a little doorway, and then I could start building up the layers of logs, making sure to leave some space for windows. While most of the holes in the straws wouldn't be visible, I wanted to make sure to fill some in, at least, just in case. And then I could finally add the corner posts to finish up the logs. With the logs all placed, I started feeling that the straws were a bit too smooth, so I smeared on some modeling paste just to give it a bit of texture. I did my best to try to keep it in the same direction as the grain of the logs. At this point, it was time to finally start adding the door and windows. I started by adding an extra frame around the logs. This just gives it a nice cleaner edge to work with. And for the door itself, I just kept it pretty simple, so I put down a few boards and then added a couple cross supports. I then cut out the backs of the windows so I could replace them with more clear material later. Before I could start working on the roof, I had to figure out how the actual mechanics of the humidifier would work, so I knew where the chimney would go. I ordered these cheap little atomizers that came with a cotton swab and control board. So the water would just get pulled up to the device itself, and the control board just turned it off and on. I marked where I would want the device to sit in the lid of my container, and then carved a hole for it. And since it sat a little bit above the lid, I just added a little bit of support with some foam. And now that I knew where the position of the chimney would be, I could get back to building the roof. So I glued on some cardboard for the base layer, making sure to mark out the chimney on the backside. I decided to glue some foam onto the roof at this point, just so it would be easier to give a bit more depth to the snow later. The chimney itself was also made out of this foam. It's easy to cut and makes adjusting the angle of the slopes pretty easy. I glued on the pieces and added an extra one on top just to make sure the PVC pipe wouldn't be visible. I hid the seams of the chimney with some sealant, so the whole thing looked a bit more cohesive. And once that dried, I could draw on the stones with my pen. And with the chimney done, the only thing the roof really needed was a few fascia boards to hide the exposed side of the cardboard. And as always, any gaps were filled in with some sealant. When it came to painting this, I wanted to make sure that everything looked like it was from the actual same place, so I knew I would have to spray on some primer to start. But since spray primer tends to melt foam, I painted on a layer of black paint and Mod Podge over the whole foam just to protect it. And then it finally came time to paint. I really tried to make the whole exterior look cold, just so inside felt even more cozy. For the snow on the roof, I first covered everything in a layer of glue, and then poured over the fake snow. And then finally, the only thing left for the whole build was to add some windows. I really wanted it to look like there was a fire going on inside, so I took some glass paint and mixed it together over my plastic sheets. And with that dry, I could cut out the pieces and glue them onto the house, making sure to add some cross beams within the window itself. All that's left then is to place the cabin over the humidifier, and this project is done.